Sup, you beautiful bastards. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, your daily dive into the news. We have a lot to talk about today, at least 7 big stories, but where we have to start is with the shocking news that One Direction's Liam Payne died in Argentina at the age of 31. A death that, 1, shocked a lot of people around the world. I mean, fans were devastated and mourning, but also 2, had people saying TMZ just bought themselves a ticket straight to hell. Because in the breaking news of his death, TMZ decided to post photos apparently depicting part of Liam's body, which obviously I'm not going to be airing on this show, but for some context, the images were of his arm and part of his torso, with the outlet initially saying, TMZ obtained a photo showing Liam's body. We're not showing his whole body, but you can clearly see his tattoos, a clock on his left forearm, and a scorpion on his abdomen. Though notably, the article no longer includes those photos, with that removal following loud and intense backlash online. With people saying things like TMZ is trying to get clicks and ad money off a young man's dead body just minutes after the news of his death. Imagine being a member of Liam Payne's family and seeing this, as well as not even confirmed whether the family know or not, and you're posting images allegedly of his body? You sick fucking scumbags, right? And people calling this disgusting and irresponsible journalism and arguing that his family should sue, with others adding fame is such a terrifying thing because why is there currency in a photo of a portion of a dead man's arm, and why would thousands and thousands and thousands of people see that within an hour of a young man dying? Even the people who look like they're most worshipped and blessed are treated like spare parts for sale. Also, regarding the specifics of his death, he died at the hotel that he was staying at, but we also can't say how it happened without YouTube suppressing the whole show. So the main thing I'll say is right now it's officially unclear if it was intentional or accidental, right? With police saying they went to his hotel in response to an emergency call that said that there was an aggressive man who could be under the influence of drugs or alcohol, with the hotel manager telling 911 he's destroying the entire room and, well, we need you to send someone, please. With him later adding that the staff was afraid he might do something. With the police then saying that when they found his hotel room, it was in complete disarray, with packs of supplements and over-the-counter drugs strewn about and various items being broken. The New York Post here publishing photos of the room that, again, I'm not going to be showing in this show, but in them you can see a broken TV. And this, as Liam has been vocal about his struggles of substance abuse and alcoholism in the past. With this, his family also released a statement to the BBC following his death, saying they are heartbroken and ask for privacy. Reports around this noting that he's survived by his 7-year-old son, as well as reports noting that his death comes as there were a lot of allegations coming from his ex-fiancée Maya. Before this, also reportedly issued a cease and desist order against him because he allegedly wouldn't stop contacting her. And this is earlier this year, she published a novel based on her relationship with Liam, and in it, the Liam character chases her character with an axe. With her also recently doing an interview claiming that did actually happen. The book also detailed what she said was a real experience where she gets pregnant and the Liam character says he'll leave her if she keeps it and pressures her to get an abortion at home to keep it secret, leading to medical complications. With Maya being 18 and Liam 26 when the relationship was confirmed, and she previously said that she was naive at the time and saying, I don't know if it was a power imbalance, but I feel like maybe my love was taken advantage of in a way. And then finally, most recently and possibly most notable, during an interview that was published this week, Maya claimed that he would send messages threatening or dangling his potential death as a manipulation tactic after their breakup, all of which has led to a ton of discourse. Some people now harassing Maya and blaming her for his death. But this also, as others are out there defending her and her right to speak out, saying no one should blame her, even if these allegations make grieving complicated for the fans. But ultimately, that's where we are with this whole situation right now. We're waiting for more details to come out. There are a lot of discussions playing out online. And so in the meantime, I gotta ask you, what are your thoughts with this whole situation? Whether it be about the death in general, what TMZ did, all this discussion around Maya, anything and everything, I'd love to hear from you in those comments down below. But then in social media drama news, but also it feels bigger than that, we have Andrew Tate versus CoffeeZilla playing out right now. Right, and as far as all this being public, it started when Andrew Tate tweeted out a screenshot of an email that Coffee apparently sent him seeking comment on a story that he's working on. In that email saying, hey Andrew, I'm reaching out for comment as I have a story about your crypto endorsements coming out. Please respond in 48 hours to ensure I can get your answer in the video for context. With the man going on to say, last year you said you do not endorse shitcoins. You've also claimed you do not have anything to do with any crypto. What changed? With him then, among other things, asking him how much he and his brother Tristan were paid to promote a coin called Roos. Also asking if he was aware it had been hacked, then asking questions about his affiliations with other coins like RNT and Daddy, along with a question about his previous statements about the SEC. And in sharing that email, we'll say Tate used language to insinuate CoffeeZilla is gay and then wrote Daddy. With him then continuing in another tweet saying CoffeeZilla is gay, Daddy to the moon, RNT to the moon. Fuck that loser. Every single negative email, negative comment, and negative review on his bullshit is money I spend in the trenches. With him then posting a video saying,
CoffeeZilla is a This is my statement to you, CoffeeZilla. You're a I guarantee I drink more coffee than you, meaning you're a fraud to begin with. Nobody likes you. Nobody's scared of your investigation. Your emails sound gay. I accidentally leaked your email address. Now everyone's calling you gay.
And apparently that last part is very true because one, Andrew literally tweeted for his followers to email him and call him gay. And two, CoffeeZilla posted the evidence himself, sharing a screenshot of his inbox, which includes tons of emails of people using homophobic language and slurs. With Coffee then writing, I asked Andrew Tate about his crypto scams, and I think he sent the war room after me. With him then reposting the questions that he asked and saying, would still appreciate your answers, you've got my email. But for now, we'll have to wait to see if he uncovered something, what that video might hold, but until then, I'd love to know your thoughts here. But then, we gotta talk about this news today that is a horrifying reminder that all it takes is one mistake at a hospital for a standard procedure to turn into a horror film. Right? And so the situation, which NPR just pieced together through interviews, takes place back in 2021 at the Baptist Health Hospital in Richmond, Kentucky. And the doctors there were preparing for an organ retrieval operation when the nurses wheeled the donor, who had been declared brain dead, into the operating room. But, as Natasha Miller, one of the doctors, told NPR, after he came in, he was moving and thrashing around on the bed. When they looked closer, tears were streaming down his face as he shook his head no. Which, just to be clear here, are the medical symptoms of a man desperately trying to stop the doctors from cutting him open to take his fucking organs. And so the two doctors on the case, they see this, they were shocked, and naturally they refused to perform the procedure. With Miller recalling, the procuring surgeon, he was like, I'm out of it. I don't want to have anything to do with it. It was very chaotic. Everyone was just very upset. And then she says she overheard the case coordinator for the organ procurement organization, Kentucky Organ Donor Affiliate, or CODA, call her supervisor for advice, which you might think would come in the form of, yeah, don't cut that guy open. But according to Miller, the supervisor told the coordinator that she needed to, quote, find another doctor to do it, and that, quote, we were going to do this case. With Miller going on to describe the call, saying she's like, there is no one else. She's crying, the coordinator, because she's getting yelled at. Now, ultimately, the organ retrieval did get canceled, but it turns out the donor, 36-year-old Anthony Thomas Hoover II, also known as TJ, he woke up more than once that day. Reportedly, he was admitted to the hospital after suffering a drug overdose. And according to organ preservationist Nicoletta Martin, who reviewed the case file, he showed signs of life during an initial procedure known as cardiac catheterization, which is this procedure where doctors operate on a potential organ donor to see whether the heart is healthy enough to actually be donated. And reportedly, TJ woke up during that procedure and began thrashing around on the table as well. But then instead of going, oh shit, this dude's definitely not dead, the doctors just sedated him and went on like nothing happened. With his sister Donna later telling NPR she became concerned when he appeared to open his eyes and look around as he was being wheeled from intensive care to the operating room. But there, she says she and other family members were told, hey, what you saw, that was just a common reflex. With Martin saying, that's everybody's worst nightmare, right? Being alive during surgery and knowing that someone is going to cut you open and take your body parts out. That's horrifying. Yeah, that's literally the synopsis of a Tales from the Crypt episode that scarred me as a child. Which also, on the note of being scarred, Martin added several of us that were employees needed to go to therapy, adding it took its toll on a lot of people, especially me. Now, with all this, it's still not entirely clear right now what went wrong that day, but the organ procurement organization has denied any wrongdoing, telling NPR CODA does not recover organs from living patients. CODA has never pressured its team members to do so. But this notably is now the Kentucky State Attorney General is reviewing the allegations, and the Federal Health Resources and Services Administration is investigating them. And so for now, we're gonna have to wait to see what happens there. But as far as TJ, he is alive, seemingly well. He lives with his sister. Presumably all his organs are still packed snugly inside his body, though unfortunately he's not fully himself anymore. As Donna, who's now his legal guardian, explained, is saying that he has problems remembering, walking, and talking, and that whenever she asks him about what happened at the hospital, he just responds with two simple yet chilling words. Why me? But then, taking a quick break from the news, listen up, right? If you shave your face or you know someone who does, this message is for you. Because did you know that 2 billion plastic razors enter landfills each year in the US alone? And making matters worse, most people overpay for disposable razors just to settle for irritated skin. But that is where Henson Shaving comes in, right? And I've actually been using their razors long before they became a sponsor of the show, so also thank you, Henson Shaving, for giving me the best shave I've ever had. Because my facial hair is spotty as all hell. I look horrible with it. So when I actually care what I look like that day, I want the best shave, and my electric razor really wasn't cutting it. I also wanted something small so it was easy to take on the road. And with all this, one of the things with razor blades is they're like diving boards. The longer the board, the more wobble, meaning more nicks and cuts. And Henson's razors, they're made in the aerospace machine shop where they previously made parts for the International Space Station. And that level of precision, it's why their razor is so much gentler on your skin. The blades, they extend 1/1000th of an inch, which means a secure and stable shave with precision engineering. And my wife doesn't call me Frugal Philly for nothing. Once you have your razor razor, it lasts a lifetime. You spend only $3 to $5 a year on replacement blades. No crazy substitution fees, just an incredible shave at a low cost. So head to hensonshaving.com/DeFranco to pick the razor for you and get 2 years worth of blades free with code DeFranco. Just make sure you add them to your cart. That's 100 free blades when you head to hensonshaving.com/DeFranco, or just scan the QR code on screen using code DeFranco. But then, with just 19 days from Election Day, which, by the way, go to vote.org, you can check your registration status there and or register to vote. In key states like Pennsylvania, for example, you still have until October 21st. You can find your local polling station and even set reminders so you can have a plan. But with us so close to Election Day, both candidates have been making major media appearances left and right, with some being more unexpected than others. Vice President Kamala Harris, for example, appeared on Fox News for an interview with Bret Baier, with that being a big part of an effort that she's had to appeal to independent voters who watch that channel more than on CNN and MSNBC, as well as, trying to get more classic, moderate Republicans and conservative women who might be willing to break away from Trump. And this is we also saw Trump doing 2 different town hall style appearances. One that also aired on Fox News, where he took questions from an all-woman audience in Georgia in a bid to try to get traction with that demographic, as polls continue to show he has a serious gender gap problem. And then the second, essentially being the same style, though, him appearing at Univision, where he spoke with Latino voters. Voters who are predicted to make up as much as 15% of eligible voters this year and are likely to play an absolutely essential game-changing role in key swing states that have high Latino populations like Arizona and Nevada. And that also coming after Harris held her own Univision town hall last week. And while we saw both of them largely hitting their usual talking points on key topics like the economy, immigration, democracy, and other issues, there were also a number of very significant viral moments that have kind of taken over the news cycle. Like, for example, in the Fox News interview, which, by the way, was less of an interview and it was more like Bret Baier attacking, debating, and trying to bait Harris, with him at one point trying to get Harris to say something really negative about Trump supporters, or I try to get that Hillary Clinton deplorable moment.
Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States, why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a cakewalk for anyone.
So are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you...
I'm telling you that was the question that we asked him.
He didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake.
I want to break down what's going on here, because what Harris said is completely correct. And what Fox News is doing is incredibly manipulative and misleading. Right? Harris is explicitly referencing this comment that Trump made while literally talking to Fox News earlier this week when he was asked if he expects there to be chaos from outside agitators, and he responded.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
With Trump also making a similar comment at another point in that interview.
We have two enemies. We have the outside enemy, and then we have the enemy from within. And the enemy from within, in my opinion, is more dangerous than China, Russia, and all these countries.
With him then going on to specifically target Representative Adam Schiff, even directly calling him the enemy within at one point, while also using anti-Semitic tropes. Right? And those comments have been widely condemned as yet another instance of Trump using increasingly authoritarian rhetoric and threatening violence against his political opponents. And so by showing that different clip of Trump claiming he's not threatening anyone, Baier and his team over at Fox News, they're trying to downplay and normalize the fact that Trump literally said he would send the military after his perceived enemies. He's talking about American politicians and American citizens in America. With also something else that Baier left out there, the fact that Trump literally made those enemy within comments again at the same Fox News town hall that Baier's using to claim that Trump isn't making threats.
It is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. They're Marxists and communists and fascists, and they're sick. They're dangerous for our country. We have China, we have Russia, we have all these countries. If you have a smart president, they can all be handled. The more difficult are, the Pelosi's, these people, they're so sick and they're so evil.
It's so weird how Brett and Fox News cut that clip. Why would they do that? What a crazy accident. Because obviously Fox News and Brett, they wouldn't want to mislead their viewers. They wouldn't do that just to prove fealty to their audience of one, right? That would be crazy. But with all that said, if you didn't watch that full interview, I'm gonna link to it down below. It's definitely worth a watch. She stands her own, she's strong doing it. She hits really solid points when Bret Baier is not trying to talk over her. Or things like Baier trying to use almost half the interview to talk about immigration and border security, which Harris ended up using as an opportunity to raise awareness of the fact that Donald Trump killed the bipartisan border bill. Or spreading the word that Democrats and even Republicans are trying to deal with the issue, but Donald Trump has held that back so he can try to be a hero. And then also at one point, he even played a Trump campaign ad that noted her previous support for prisoners receiving gender-affirming surgery and claiming, as he did in the debate, that she is in favor of taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens. With Baier then going on to ask,
So are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing stones when you're living in a glass house.
But again, you can and should watch the whole interview, come to your own conclusion, and I'll link to it down below. But then, switching gears to Trump, he had a number of viral clips, though it was for different reasons. Starting with Trump's all-woman town hall, where Baier asked Harris 0 questions about reproductive rights. That topic and a disgusting response to it ended up going viral, because at one point, Fox News host Harris Faulkner made a comment about Amber Nicole Thurman. She's a 28-year-old mother who died a preventable death in 2022 as a result of Georgia's restrictive abortion laws, according to an investigation by ProPublica. A death that many have laid at Donald Trump's feet because he put in Supreme Court justices that reversed Roe v. Wade. And before Trump's town hall in Georgia, her family held a press call to talk about how her death was preventable. But when Faulkner mentioned that call to Trump, we saw this interaction.
Amber Thurman's family have come out on a press call, and they're doing what's called a pre-buttal 2-hour town hall right now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah? And I want to
Get better ratings, I promise.
Right, and so that blew up because you have the former president literally mocking the grieving family of a woman who died. And also, if you're wondering why you can hear so many people laughing at that moment, it's probably because it's since been reported that the town hall was packed with his local supporters, which is a fact that Fox did not disclose. And in fact, at times, Fox literally edited the broadcast from its original recording to take out moments where they vocally expressed support. This including cutting one woman who had asked a question mid-sentence to remove a bite of her saying she was already voting for Trump, as well as cutting out a clip where Trump asked the crowd who they were voting for, with attendees then literally chanting Trump, Trump. But with all that said, I think the clip that's gotten the most traction came from the Univision town hall. And that's because of this question and answer between a man who says that he's a Republican, though no longer registered, and Donald Trump, as well as the audience reactions to it as Trump's answer. And so this guy says he wants to give Trump a chance to win back his vote, but then he hits on 3 things.
Your, I'd say, action and maybe inaction during your presidency and the last few years sort of, was a little disturbing to me. What happened during January 6th and the fact that, you waited so long to take action while your supporters were attacking the Capitol. Coronavirus, I thought the public was misled during coronavirus, and that many more lives could have been saved if we would have been informed better. And also people in your administration who don't support you. I'm curious how people so close to you and your administration no longer want to support you, so why would I want to support you? If you would answer these questions for me, I would really appreciate it and give you the opportunity. There's, your own vice president doesn't want to support you now?
Now, with that question, Donald Trump tries to minimize how much of his former cabinet do not support him, then minimizing the situation with Pence, saying he just disagrees with what he did, and then Trump significantly talking about January 6th like this.
Very importantly, you had hundreds of thousands of people come to Washington. They didn't come because of me. They came because of the election. They thought the election was a rigged election, and that's why they came. Some of those people went down to the Capitol. I said, peacefully and patriotically, nothing done wrong at all, nothing done wrong. And action was taken, strong action. Ashley Babbitt was killed. Nobody was killed. There were no guns down there. We didn't have guns. The others had guns, but we didn't have guns. And when I say we, these are people that walked down. This was a tiny percentage of the overall, which nobody sees and nobody shows. But that was a day of love from the standpoint of the millions. It's like hundreds of thousands. It could have been the largest group I've ever spoken before. They asked me to speak. I went and I spoke, and I used the term peacefully and patriotically. If you look at the Democrats, what they say, you look at Maxine Waters and you look at Hillary Clinton and you look at what they say, and they don't put that on. They only put Republicans on. But they couldn't get me because of the fact that I said everything's got to be peaceful and patriotic.
And again, just like with the Harris interview, I'm going to link down to the full interviews down below. You can watch them in full, be your own best judge. Because there's a lot in there. Trump talking about the debunked Haitian migrants eating cats and stuff. But yeah, ultimately, I'm going to end this segment by saying, one, of course, I'd love to know your thoughts on everything that we've seen here. And two, of course, a friendly reminder, vote. And good news, bad news, there's only 2.5 more weeks of me reminding you to do that. But then taking a quick break from the news, when life gets hectic, especially in the fall, it is so important to look after your health. With a busy schedule, stress can leave you feeling drained and make it tough to stay on top of everything. And that's why I focus on maintaining energy levels in a heart-healthy way without relying on caffeine or stimulants. And an easy go-to for me has been a sponsor of today's show, SuperBeets Heart Chews. Right? They are a delicious plant-based way to support healthy blood pressure and circulation while giving me the energy boost I need, minus the jitters. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, SuperBeets' unique antioxidant compound is clinically shown to be nearly twice as effective at promoting normal blood pressure compared to lifestyle changes alone. And for me, heart health is a priority because it's something that impacts everything I do. And incorporating SuperBeets Heart Chews into my daily routine, it gives me peace of mind knowing I'm doing something great for my heart health. Take them on the go, whether I'm at my desk or I'm running around, and it's easy to stay consistent. Plus, they give me sustained energy without that crash, which is key. You can double your potential with SuperBeets Heart Chews. So get a free 30-day supply on all bundles and 15% off your first order by going to getsuperbeets.com and use code DeFranco. Let's get SuperBeets.com, code DeFranco. But then in quick business and legal news, it's actually probably going to affect your life. Subscriptions are about to get a whole hell of a lot less annoying. And that's because the FTC just finalized a new rule combating strategies used by businesses to make it more difficult to get out of a subscription or a membership. With FTC Chair Lena Khan saying, too often businesses make people jump through endless hoops just to cancel a subscription. The FTC's rule will end these tricks and traps, saving Americans time and money. Nobody should be stuck paying for a service they no longer want. Right? And so with that, the basic principle is that the cancellation method must be, quote, at least as easy to use as the sign-up process. But of course, there's also more here, right? For example, the rule also requires retailers, gyms, and other businesses to get consumers' consent for subscriptions, auto renewals, and free trials to convert to paid memberships. Plus, and this is huge, businesses will be banned from forcing customers to go through some sort of chatbot or an agent to cancel subscriptions that were originally signed up to using an app or website. And finally, thank fucking God for this, for memberships that customers signed up to in person, businesses will have to offer the option to terminate them online or with a phone call. Though, a big thing to keep in mind before you call that gym that's like, no, you have to come in person. The new rule will not take effect for about 6 months. And also, in the meantime, it may be challenged in court because the FTC commissioners, they passed the final rule yesterday with 3 Democrats voting yes and 2 Republicans voting no. And in their dissenting opinion, one of the Republicans speculated that the rule, quote, will likely not survive legal challenge. And of course, it's the businesses that are likely to bring the challenge, especially as the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, for example, has in general opposed the Biden administration's effort to crack down on junk fees, including the click-to-cancel rule, with them instead describing it as the FTC's latest power grab in its pursuit to micromanage business decisions. And the group also saying not only will this rule deter businesses from providing sensible, consumer-friendly subscriptions, but it will leave Americans with fewer options, higher prices, and more headaches. And while obviously that is up for debate, like so many things in this world, it's also notable that the rule actually seems to have overwhelming bipartisan support. In fact, according to a recent poll, it's supported by 83% of voters, including 85% of Democrats and 80% of Republicans. And beyond that, the FTC says they've been receiving thousands of complaints about negative option and recurring subscription practices every year. And adding there that the number of complaints has been steadily increasing over the past 5 years, with them getting nearly 70 per day on average in 2024. And personally, as you can likely tell, I'm all for it. Like, I know that I mentioned the gym example, but it is insane that there are gyms out there that are like, nope, sorry, you can't cancel unless you say that shit to my face. What are you talking about? Also, places that, yeah, make you use a chat bot or some phone, and it almost seems like they're set up horribly, like on purpose, so you get frustrated and you're like, it's not even worth the time to cancel. And while this change will obviously impact some businesses in a negative way, it's because those businesses are holding customers fucking hostage, which, call me crazy, doesn't feel like we should be defending those businesses. In huge news, the LA Catholic Church just broke a record, right? Hit a milestone. Unfortunately, it is because they have now paid out over $1 billion in sexual abuse settlements, with the Archdiocese of Los Angeles announcing that they've agreed to pay an $880 million settlement to over 1,300 people who accuse the Catholic clergy of sexually abusing them, or with that making it the highest single payout by a diocese ever. Though notably, this is because the LA Diocese beat their own previous record, with them previously paying out $740 million in a variety of abuse settlements. So actually, this latest news brings the total payout to over $1.5 billion. And of course, all of this connected to how the church has been at the center of a legal battle regarding sexual abuse for over 2 decades now, with those including countless allegations that the church's previous leadership seriously mishandled abuse cases, even sometimes moving clergy known to sexually abuse children to other parishes rather than just removing them or turning them over to the police. In fact, reportedly more than 300 priests who worked in the Archdiocese in just LA have been accused of sexually abusing minors. And a key thing with all of this is that some of the claims in this settlement, they date back decades and were only able to be brought to light because of a law that was passed back in 2019, because that opened up a brief 3-year window where there could actually be legal ramifications. And so with all this, you have the attorney leading the settlement negotiations saying, these survivors have suffered for decades in the aftermath of the abuse. Dozens of the survivors have died. They are aging, and many of those with knowledge of the abuse within the church are too. It was time to get this resolved. With another lawyer representing some of the plaintiffs against the church adding that this settlement is a welcome sight, saying it's never going to be full justice when the harm is a child's life, but it's a measure of justice and a measure of accountability that gives these survivors some sense of closure at least. And as far as the settlement and the money, 1, it was approved by the Archbishop, and 2, he said that it'll be funded by Archdiocese investments, accumulated reserves, bank financing, and other assets, with him also specifically noting that donations designated for specific parishes, schools, or missions will not be used. And apparently part of the reason this took so long is that a critical thing in the negotiations was making sure that the settlement was something that the Archdiocese could actually pay without going bankrupt, because the bankruptcy would drastically slow down payments actually getting to the victims. Also, as far as the Archbishop, in an announcement to parishioners, he apologized to the victims, saying that he hopes that the settlement can provide some healing and detailing the changes that the church has established to address the problem, with him pointing to strict background checks and reporting requirements as well as extensive training programs, and saying as a result of these reforms, new cases of sexual misconduct by priests and clergy involving minors are rare in the Archdiocese. No one who has been found to have harmed a minor is serving in ministry at this time, and I promise we will remain vigilant. You know, while the settlement has been applauded, you have a lot of people saying it is a good start, but there is still a long way to go. With, for example, the support group Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests specifically calling for the Archbishop to release all clergy files related to the sexual abuse cases, and saying, we fear and believe there are many more survivors out there who have not yet come forward. For now, we'll have to wait to see what happens, right? This settlement means that there are only a few lawsuits still pending against the church. We don't know yet how those are going to pan out, whether more are going to pop up, or is this actually close to the end of a decades-long legal ordeal. But then I want to give a congratulations and also talk about yesterday. So first, congratulations to Francisco Mendez, the SeatGeek prize winner, who just won $500 in our weekly SeatGeek giveaway towards his choice of SeatGeek tickets. Good on you, sir. Francisco said that he's taken his girlfriend to see Lion King on Broadway. And for everyone else, that's right, SeatGeek and the Daily Dip are still giving away up to $1,000 in tickets, and you should definitely enter today if you haven't already. Just add code PDS to your SeatGeek app profile for a chance at the weekly $500 prize, no purchase necessary, and $1,000 prizes are available to Daily Dip subscribers who add code PDS newsletter, doubling entries and winnings. So yeah, do it. It's a no-brainer. But then, as promised, yes, let's talk about yesterday in some commentary. And given that it ended up being a 30-minute dive into the news, there were a lot of different takes on a lot of different stories. Starting with Asmongold, a lot of people kind of impressed. This is Tech Today saying, out of all the content creator apologies, I gotta say that Asmongold's apology is significantly better than bringing out the uke. And Olive Little saying the Asmongold apology was kind of refreshing. I honestly hope he gets help where he needs it. Though this, as others responded, meh, just look forward to him reacting to his own apology video again and then not changing the behavior. Which, I mean, on that note, Asmongold even said in that video, you know, I can say all these words, but they're words, like hold me accountable, watch my actions. And you know, very likely people are gonna be paying attention, especially because in the comments on his apology, a huge bulk of his audience did not like that he was apologizing or just didn't think that he needed to. You know, time will tell. That said, I really expect nothing from anybody in the world, especially people I don't know in real life, though I do think real change can happen. And I think people that have watched me for over any meaningful course of the last 18 years of this show know that it is possible. I'd want to punch previous versions of myself in the face. But then also, understandably so, a lot of the top comments yesterday were about that crazy body cam video. With some of those top comments including, dude is on a body cam beating a disabled man with no escalation, arrested him, lied by omission in the reports, and at arraignment. I cannot see a single reason those cops aren't in jail. Right, because the cops left out that the guy that got this beat down was a deaf man with cerebral palsy. With also others chiming in saying cops being ready to fully attack citizens before there's even time for them to comprehend and process the question is ridiculous. Even if the man wasn't deaf, that cop went from stop to tackling the guy in about as much time as it would take someone to say, huh. And understandably, a lot of people looking at this situation going, how can you resist arrest when you have no idea you're being arrested? But yeah, ultimately, that is where today's show is gonna end. Thank you for watching. I love yo faces. Class is dismissed, of course, until Monday. Stay safe till then, and we'll talk more on Monday.